At this point, I've already taken off the various airbox parts, and I'm down to my two carburetors. What we're trying to accomplish here is the mixture in the rear cylinder is good. The mixture in the front cylinder, we need to go up 2 jet sizes. I found it easier after doing this a few times to go ahead and only undo your screws and your bottom clamps of the rubber that goes between the head of the engine and your carb. Just seems a little bit easier to take off and put back on. I don't like to remove all our throttle linkage and choke. Linkage and everything, here's throttle, there's choke. Because it's a pain in the ass when all you really got to do is just lift these off here like this and just kind of rotate this whole thing. Make sure nothing's catching here. Over. Sorry. Got to pull our idle adjustment knob loose. Then we can just rotate this whole thing over like this. Okay, I've got to pull the front, so what I'm going to do first is take a few paper towels. Looks like I got 3 left. Good, that'll work. Kind of wad them up a little bit here. What this is going to do is catch the gas that comes out of the bowl of this carburetor. This ought to be it. Oh yeah. And see my gas start dripping out. I don't know if you can see it on the camera or not. Once the bowl screws are all loosened, the gas will run right out. And I just catch it with a paper towel. Gotta love cell phones. Anyway, I'm taking the last screw out of my carburetor bowl here. And then pulling the bowl off and just laying it to the side. Time to change the jet. All right, I am going from a 134 Dynajet, which is a hair lean, to a 136 Dynajet. I don't know if you can see this or not, but see on the label it says 136. Okay, you're gonna need an 8mm wrench, and that's just to secure the piece that the jet screws into solid. So we just want to hold it with that. Use a good screwdriver, back out your jet. And again, holding my wrench, carefully tighten it a little bit. Definitely not over tighten it. Okay, now I just need to adjust my mixture while I got the carbs off like this. And I'm going to go about a half turn less than where I was before. So let's take a look. First off, put her in. This is a little adjustment tool that's short. It's still too long to make it easy to adjust these Teryx carbs. Okay, we're looking at a half turn, 1 turn, 1.5, 2, 2.5 roughly. So I'm going to go to a half, 1, a half, 2. If you want to tighten them a tiny bit at a time each, run them in until they just touch, then work on them in a crisscrossing pattern. You don't need to put hardly any torque on them. You know, the reason I stripped one out is because I put way too much torque on it. I would say that is enough. Okay, now let's route our drain line again. Let's see if we can. The reason I hold these bottom clamps only is because generally I'm finding it a lot easier to just slip these things right back on. Do the back first. Then the front, there they go, right there. Okay, they're on. So all I need to do is go across, tighten up the clamps, then hook up the grounding strap. That's part of that first recall on the Teryx. Now I'm ready to tighten back these 2 clamps. I'm turning the screwdriver lock because I loosen them real well. Before I try to pull them off, it just seems to make it much easier to get it back on. Very important to get a good seal down here. There we go. There she goes, right there. Okay, we just want to make sure these are seated all the way around. There's a little notch in the rubber, and there's a little tongue sticking out of the carbs themselves to make sure you get it lined up right. So it's on. We just need to tighten these two clamps. And a little hint here that I've learned from just doing this, I'm no rocket scientist at all, but the other reason I want to take off these clamps that go to the carbs themselves to the metal is because the plastic is at an angle and it's also soft, and if you over tighten these clamps up here, this whole unit will just pop right out of them. I got my factory airbox. I've got an uni filter on here that I got from Hunterworks. You've heard talk about oil in the airbox. Well, take a look at that. I never really had oil in my airbox at all till I opened up the airbox and put this Muzzy exhaust on there. But I find that when I run wide open and let off, whoa, that's when the oil seems to accumulate here in the airbox. Enough that, I don't know if you can see it or not, but see how the bottom of that filter is coated in oil down there. This along through here is where that filter lays on the bottom of this air box. And I just wanted to show you guys that it is an issue, and I know there's various products in the works to solve it. Basically, I've got on order from UTV Crap some kind of collection deal or something like that. We'd have to let those guys tell you more what's going on with it. Anyway, you just want to push your filter back in, make sure it's got a good seal all the way around. And let me get the screw and install it. All right, well, your air filter fits in a slot here. I hope you can see this in focus. Anyway, there's a slot and it snaps in, and there's a screw that goes right here that holds it in. And it's, goes into a metal sleeve with threads, but it's, plastic on the air filter, so you just want to snug it, not too tight. All right, and let's reinstall the factory filter box. Okay. What I do is get all four bolts, hold the air box on started by hand first, so that way it kind of centers everything up nice before I tighten the clamp going to the rest of the carbs and everything. And again, everything's kind of keyed and that sort of thing to where the rubber only goes in one place to try to help keep everything lined up, I assume, make it easy for people. So it's pretty easy to do this. I wouldn't be afraid to try this myself, y'all. All right, these, by the way, all these bolts are 10 millimeters. So you'll need a 10 mil socket, a ratchet, and then a 10 millimeter wrench. You can also use an extension. All right, now all we got to do is tighten up our hose clamp over here on the rubber that connects this collector up here, duct, to our air box.